Hello there and welcome to this video explaining about the Cover Supervisor information booklet which you've received via email. This is part of your induction and it takes you through your Cover Supervisor role, lots of useful information for you to refer back to. On the front cover here you can see there are lots of clickable links, that's for emails, access to the staff handbook, and really crucially the safeguarding emails for both Tanya Ellsworth, our Deputy Head Teacher, and also the safeguarding central inbox. There are sort of aspects to this Cover Supervisor booklet that I won't go through on this video because they're self-explanatory, but I just want to draw your attention to certain aspects. So the school day is useful to have reference there, especially because you'll be going between lessons, and you must make sure you get your lunch as well. So if you're ever timetabled and think my lunch isn't possible, do let us know. Jenny will always make sure you've got lunch. The positives on class charts and the sanction ladder are really crucial for you as you move through the classrooms. Please remember that there is a staggered sanction ladder to go through, and that before we kind of enter the sanction ladder, before that verbal warning, we would expect you to be employing strategies to make sure that students are getting it right. That might include things like take-up time. That's where you might issue a sort of, an indication that the behaviour isn't as you want it to be, but you're saying to that student, I need you to get your coat off now, and rather than standing in front of them waiting for that to happen, you're giving that instruction and you're moving away and you're giving that child a chance to actually get it right. Up to about 2 minutes really for them to take up that good behaviour. Similarly, if it was, you need to get sat into the right seats, you're not in the right position there, so you need to be sat in the right seats. Again, don't stand there waiting for that, move away, because it's really not rewarding that sort of sense of wanting that attention. It's just, that is my clear instruction, and we're giving them that take-up time. A lot of students find that much easier when they're not being watched. Kind of linked to that, the idea that you are labelling what's happening in the room rather than saying any judgments. So we're not saying things like you're being really, really rude or disrespectful not taking your coat off. Well, they may be or they may not be. They might be doing something that's a function of their anxiety, or they might be being rude and they might be being naughty, but it doesn't help us to label things that are quite emotive. What can be really helpful and what we would encourage is for you to label facts. So I've asked everybody to take their coat off, your coat's still on, so I want you to take your coat off and then move away. That factual labelling of what's happening is really helpful. Another example would be, at the moment you're fiddling with the blind, what I need you to be doing is working on this task. So again, it's not you're being really annoying, you're being really naughty, it's a labelling of fact. They are playing with the blind, you need them to sit down and do their work. So keep that in mind as you move through the sanction ladder. Going back up to rewards, you can be very liberal with rewards up to about sort of 2 positives a lesson if you need to, or beyond if the circumstances needed it to be that way. We wouldn't expect you to be hammering good work all through the lesson because it can't be devalued as a positive, but please feel free to use the ones that you most likely will use, such as attitude to learning, positive contribution. Students love to know that they've had those straight away. We must make sure that we praise in public and sanction as much as we can in private. It's hard, isn't it, because you don't want to remove the student and then have the rest of the class be unsafe. But as long as they're in your eye line, a conversation in the corridor or to the side in the classroom or just close one-to-one, bobbed down next to their table, you're not quite getting it right at the moment, and I feel that might mean that we're moving on to verbal warning. That can be really helpful because it removes that audience that students can behave worse when they see that they've got an audience and that playing to the crowd. It's not helpful. Make sure we're not entering into big discussions about behaviour across the classroom. Go closer to the students so that you can have that quiet conversation. We don't put we don't put names on the boards at Fulford. Please don't do that for negative behaviour. It becomes a competition who can get their name on the board, so it has the opposite effect of what we want. There's quite a bit on there about the role itself, about where to find cover work. You've been shown all this in your induction, but it's there as reference if you forget or have a problem. Do remember Jenny is the person who through the day can be responsive to you. Obviously I'm teaching or in meetings, so I'm not as immediately sort of available. Things about SIMs and the seating plans there, you've had that through your induction, how to get onto class charts. Form time cover is outlined there, the default timetable as well, a few notes about probation and performance management. This is often a question, should you leave feedback for a teacher? Well, it is not expected in your role. I don't expect you to be doing that every lesson. It's too time consuming, and you simply don't have the capacity always to do that. However, if as an English teacher myself, I would love to know which page you got up to if you were reading a book. Teachers might need just a bit of information where resources have been stored. It can be nice to say, you know, the class were fantastic, they did you proud when you were absent. But if you're leaving any details like that, just an email to the teacher is fine, or a prominent post-it note is great. It just doesn't need to be done every lesson. It's too onerous for us to ask you to do that. If you had, similarly to that, any issues or sort of where you wanted to raise concerns, I would like to be looped in if there was a significant concern. I wouldn't want there to be it's to protect you, I wouldn't want there to be a significant incident and not to know about it. So if there was sort of like a major behaviour issue or safeguarding issue that you wanted to, safeguarding is within your own judgment, you're only bound to tell the safeguarding lead on that one, but it might be that you want my support with the behaviour issue. Something about the work might be inappropriate for you and need to be looped into that. So please make sure that you keep those nice and transparent, those bits of communication about concerns. But I would want you to be proactive. So if you've got a concern, please email the teacher whose lesson you've covered, the curriculum leader, myself, Jenny, whoever you think is most relevant for that concern. Please make sure you are raising things early doors. We're here to help, and we know that it's a tricky business that you're in here. So please don't hesitate, don't second guess yourself. Just get that information out to the people that can come and support you. Make sure that you are accessing support and help. So we've got the safeguarding, but we've also got the cover lessons support bank, resource bank that's linked there as well. There's a nice page there that just kind of goes through the day-to-day tasks that you'll be doing. Just to remember and ground yourself that we're not asking you to be above and beyond here. We want you to do the very difficult task that you've already got, which is to cover the lesson. There's a bit about general conduct there which can be useful, and one I want you to draw your attention to here is that the student information must be kept absolutely private. Often on the cover work itself, a teacher will indicate personal information about those students, SEN or possibly behaviour issues. That bit of paper must not go into the site of the students because it's GDPR, safeguarding and all sorts of behaviour issues that can be a problem if we do share that information. Please, for example, don't put up on the big screen that cover sheet. It's not appropriate. If you are going to do that, you must check that the screen you're showing just contains the tasks. Obviously, I understand that might be the quickest way to get that information to the students, but make sure that on the screen is only the information that's relevant to the students. Don't show personal information. We've had problems in the past where students have been really upset that everybody or few students have seen personal information about them. Any others on there that I want to draw your attention to? No, I think that's all straightforward. Just for you to understand the kind of wider context of what you're kind of working within, there's a typical cover process just outlined for you there, just so you understand when and how that cover is set, how the cover is built, and what might happen if there's an emergency cover versus a known absence. Specialist areas, just be aware of that health and safety aspect there. And then there's a list of the kind of staff that you might well need to be in contact with, and obviously all of their emails are available on the email kind of global address book that you can access. And I just hope you find that useful. If there's any more training that you require around things like behaviour, please do, again, be transparent, do raise those emails to me. It might be something like a specific student. You might come across a certain student who's always kind of giving you a bit of a problem. It might be a type of student, so you might say, I'm fine if it's year 7, 8, 9, but I'm finding those older students quite tricky. Anything around sort of how to settle the class, any extra training that you want around those aspects, please do shout. We're here to help you and we're here to progress your skill set. And good luck. Thank you for all that you do.